Morning, it's Barry with Growing Roots Farm. Sorry, I'm staring right into the sun. What I've got here is just a follow-up on another video. This is the first part of our move. Basically, we put all of our chickens and our sheep. We put them in our one lone duck. I forget what the kid's named him or her. We can't even tell if it's male or female. We're pitiful. But anyway, we've got all of them moved in here. I'm going to show you a little bit of what we do and just some of our process. So you see, we've got our sheep and our chickens all in one paddock. This is just I call it a hayfield. It's a poor excuse for a hayfield. It hasn't been seeded or anything done to it in a very, very long time, well before we moved here. But we move in all the structures into one system at the very beginning. So we've got our sheep shelter, our chivet, and then our other small chicken tractor. The other thing we do have one duck. We had two, and we think some critter got a hold of the other duck, so we're probably going to try and find another one or a couple more. But we do have a little plastic kiddie pool, and one of my boys is getting water for it right now. We keep water in it so the duck can get in there. And then we also use the Premier One waters. Once again, they're also dry right now. He's off getting the water for us right now. These are, I forget if they're 7-gallon or 8-gallon, but they do pretty well. One thing we got to do, because all of this property is on a slope, we always keep a few little wooden blocks, and then we will just prop that corner up, whatever it needs to get it level, and level those out. We have learned the hard way, if you don't level them, you're going to lose all your water real quick. So we have to pay extra attention to that. And then that needs cleaned out, but we put more water in that for the sheep to get easier access to that. So right now they're in roughly a 200 foot. It's a Premier One netting. We have two 100s put together. So we got 200 here, and then I'll show over here on this side. We've got our next paddocks already set up. We do all this on one morning, and then our next moves are really easy. So we had some, sorry, I always point and it always gets it out of focus. We have our Premier One, the white netting there. That's actually 250 feet. So we go down in, and then we have another, I don't know how well you can pick it up. It is green, but there is another green fence on the other side there. And what we make sure that we do is that we create our openings. Oh, look. Here's some of our problem chickens right now. These chicks we got out of the brooder, and we thought, oh, they won't have any trouble. We'll put them right in with the other ones. Well, they are still small enough that they can fit through these small sections right here. And we don't have it doubled up. So their feathers sort of insulate them from the shock, and they just go right on through. They have been our problem chickens because all of a sudden our dogs have realized they like chicken. We have lost a few to our dogs. I tried the method of tying a dead chicken to them. My wife didn't like that. It was kind of gross anyway. I've heard it works, but it was definitely gross. But that's where they'll be. So what I was getting back to, we make sure we keep one of our openings to where we can open this section of the fence up, move everything over, and then the sheep will be there next. We'll let the sheep have this entire area next time. And then when the sheep move to paddock number 3, we will then move, we won't move the chivet, we'll keep it where it's at, but we'll open this fence up so paddock number 1 and number 2 are open, so the chickens follow behind and they have a lot more free ranging area, if that makes sense. So sheep get moved paddocks 1, 2, and 3. The chickens end up getting moved to just paddocks 1 and 2. We don't get them on the 3rd spot. It just creates too much confusion for us to try and get them moved safely. But we do this we move them every 2 to 3 days. The premise behind that is we don't want our sheep on an area more than just a few days, because we don't want them getting into it with parasites. So if we keep them moving frequently, they'll be fine. Now, one thing we have to watch out for, I said our hay fields aren't the best, is some areas have got some decent growth and it takes them a little bit longer to eat it down. Other areas they eat up in a hurry. So our areas are inconsistent, and we just have to kind of keep an eye on that as we're rotating them. Say good morning, sheep. They're happy. I actually want a lot more of them. The sheep have been one of my favorite things here on the property. They've actually been really, so far, I know people, you hear a lot of horror stories about how hard they are to keep alive and stuff like that. And, so far, knock on wood, everything's run really smooth. They're gentle. We can move them around. They'll come to us with just a bucket. We occasionally give them a little mixture of feed, but we don't do it every day. I did notice that when we gave them the mixture feed every day, that they were not eating the grass down. Whoa, that seems to be common sense. But we keep them happy. They're gaining weight well. They look good. So for right now, everything's running well. And I'll spin you back around. That's pretty much it. That's just kind of a little bit of a tour of how we do our paddock system. As I've said before, this is not really what ideal. This isn't exactly what I want to do all the time, but for right now, this is working. I'd still would love to get a perimeter fence and just tie and then hook up a couple strands of hot wire in between. That would be a whole lot simpler. It would be a time saver, but for right now we don't have that infrastructure in place. So right now this works, and it keeps everything pretty healthy. You'll see a video later on in the next, it'll probably be a couple months, probably in the December time. We haven't exactly figured out when we're moving them, but we will do the same thing we did last winter with our chickens and our rabbits, and we will move them into about 2/3 of our greenhouse. Our greenhouse is a 20 by 60 hoop style, and what we do is we divide it off, we petition it off, and we do a deep bedding system over the winter time, move the chickens and the rabbits in there. They're really happy in there. They stay warm, and you know, by next spring, we've got our soil up in the greenhouse is even better than it was. So it works well for them and for us. So it's also easier on our chores. The winter chores are also easier because those animals are inside. But for right now, that's it. Continue to like, share, and comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.